Hey everyone, and welcome back to my channel. So today I'm going to be showing you my updated brow routine, the products that I have really been enjoying using just recently, and also the sort of new products that I have introduced to my routine. I'm also going to go over what products I use on a sort of day-to-day basis if I just want a really everyday look, and also the products that I am using for like a glam look and what I tend to use in every single tutorial that I have been doing just recently. So yeah, I'm just going to zoom you in so you can see my brows. I've got nothing on them. All I've got on at the moment is my base. So I'm just going to zoom you in so you can see my brows. So this is just my brow. There's nothing on it whatsoever. Hopefully it's like the lighting's okay. But yeah, so this is just my brow. So I'm just going to brush it through it with a spoolie brush. Normally I use the Sigma spoolie brush, but just recently I purchased the Anastasia number 12 brush, which looks like this on one end and that on the other. So I'm just brushing my brows up. And I brush them up so I can see the shape underneath, because I like to start on the underneath of my brow. So I just brush them up so I can see that sort of underneath shape, if that makes sense. Like, it isn't the most perfect shape, and my brows aren't the most perfect shape whatsoever. I'm trying desperately to grow them into the shape that I want them, but they just don't grow pretty much. So yes, this is the sort of natural brow that I am working with at the moment, which isn't particularly nice looking. Okay, so I just want to run through the different products that I use. It sort of changes, but just recently I have really been into my Anastasia Beverly Hills DipBrow Pomade in the shade Taupe is the one that I've got. I am thinking about getting the blonde colour as well, because I am going to be dyeing my hair a lot lighter, and my hair naturally gets lighter in the summertime. So I've been using it in the shade Taupe. There we go. So I've been using the shade Taupe in the DipBrow. It is just a really gorgeous sort of cool tone brown, which is perfect. I had the Fluid Line brow gel or brow cream from M.A.C, but it is really warm. So it was okay when I had a lot of red undertones in my hair, but now I am getting more blonde. It is starting to look a little bit too warm looking, and my brows are looking a little bit too bold for my liking. So I've been really enjoying that. Sort of on the everyday basis, I do like powder products. This shade here has been my go-to brow powder of all time. It is a M.A.C eyeshadow in the shade Omega, and just looks like that. It's got like a funny coating on it because I used to wet it up when I wanted a more bolder brow, so I wetted the product up with Fix Plus and it came out a lot bolder on my brows. But it's just in the shade Omega, and I just use an angled brush and I just sort of brush it through in sort of short motions, just like so, and it gives you a really nice natural brow looking. So tongue-tied today. It gives you a really natural looking brow, which I really do like on that sort of everyday where you don't want to put too much makeup on, but you still want your brows to look nice, and like mine needs to look nice, like there's no shape whatsoever. Yeah, so another product that I like using on days when I'm in like a rush is the Archery pencil from Soap and Glory in the shade Blonde Shell. There, let's see, Blonde Shell. And just looks like this. It is pretty similar to the Brow Wiz from Anastasia. So you've got a spoolie brush up one end, and then you've got the autofocus on this is like going crazy, and then you've got the pencil, which I'm hoping is going to focus. Okay, and that is the pencil side, which you can twist and it makes the product go up so you don't have to sharpen it, if that makes sense. I can't remember what they are called when they roll up like that, but yeah, so I really like this product, and I have been using this a lot in tutorials of sort of like a month ago and backdated, if that makes sense. Like for the last month or so I have been using this DipBrow pomade, but before that I was all about this pencil, and I do really like this when I am in a rush. I'll sort of fill in my brow ever so slightly, just extend the tail a little bit and also create that arch that I like, and then I'll just go in with the Gimme Brow product from Benefit, which just adds sort of fullness to your brow and also a little bit of a colour. I do find this is a little bit dark for my brows because obviously I am quite fair hair now in the top. It does come out a little bit dark sometimes, but I like those products when I'm in a rush and I've literally just applied like a little bit of concealer or something, and then I'm on the go. And then a product that I have been using to set my brows in place for the longest time is the M.A.C Pro Longwear Waterproof Brow Set in Empathetically Blonde. I don't know how I feel about this product anymore. I used to love it, but now I'm finding that my brow hairs are drooping during the day, or they're just moving. And when I was using just the pencil or the powder, I do find that my brow can disappear. Now that I'm using the DipBrow pomade, I do find that my brows are actually lasting on my face a lot longer. They'll last all day. It's like waterproof, I believe. I'm not sure. I'll have to double check and I'll put it in my accompanying blog post. But yeah, I find that they do last a lot longer, but the brow hairs do not stay in place. So I'm really contemplating whether to get the Anastasia Beverly Hills Clear Brow Gel, because I've heard that is like hairspray for your brows. Today I'm going to be showing you how I have been really liking my eyebrows just recently, which is using the Anastasia Beverly Hills DipBrow pomade. I have really been enjoying this product since I have purchased it, and I've only like taken a small amount from the top. So like I said, I've just brushed my brow hairs upwards. And I think my mirror is a little bit too far away, so I'm going to use a little compact. This is the brow that I've sort of been turning to just recently. As of late, I haven't been wearing makeup hardly ever. I haven't filmed a video in the longest time because of my hay fever, which is why there was no favourites video for the month of May. It's just because I hadn't been wearing makeup for the longest time and I just didn't want to put products in it for the sake of doing a video. I wanted to actually be my favourite products, if you know what I mean. So yeah, I'm just going to brush my brow hairs up like I said, and I've also left them sort of unplucked so I can show you what I do. So basically I brushed them up with the spoolie brush. Now I'm now going to go in with the angled side of the brush and I'm going to pick up a little bit of product. I'm just placing it on the back of my hand. And I just apply like a little bit of product there so I can keep sort of dipping into that product rather than keep dipping back into my brow pomade. And I just pop the lid back on. So if I do need any more, I can go to the back of my hand, and this is where I can also get rid of the product to make sure I've just got enough product on the brush. You don't want to apply too much of this product. You don't want very much on your brush whatsoever. And so basically all I've done is I've wiped sort of as much as I can off the brush. I'm now just using bottom edge of my brow as a guideline. I'm just doing short strokes. I've just gone up to an arch and then I've rounded it down into the tail. And when you do your brows, you don't really want to go further than that point. So you go from the edge of your nose to the edge of your eye. That is where like the end of your eyebrow should be. So that is in like the perfect place. So I've just created a line so far and I'm just going to sort of blend it upwards. So we're just sort of distributing that product through the brows without having to do much work at all. I'm just prying it up. So again, it's making the brow hairs go up so it creates that shape that we want. Okay, so now I'm just going to apply a little bit more of that brow pomade, and I'm going to start with this arch at the top here. So I have normally been liking a quite angular arch, sort of like a squarish arch, but at the moment I have been liking a more rounded arch. So all I've done is done small strokes along the top, sort of from my iris area back to my arch, and I've now just curved it. I'm just going to connect it to that tail that we've created. I'm just using short strokes just to blend it so it looks more natural. So I've got like a sort of curved shape, if that makes sense. So I'm just going to apply a little bit more to my brush. Oh, I don't want to be off the camera. And I'm just going to fill in that area where I've just drawn the line on the bottom and the line at the top. I just thicken the tail up a bit so that it sort of corresponds with the rest of my brow, because I don't think that it looks particularly great when you have a sort of thickish brow and then it goes to like a really thin point. I'm not saying that my brows are particularly thick, but I just feel like they need to be sort of in proportion. So I'm just going to go in and take a little bit more of the DipBrow on my brush and just make sure that that is all looking okay. And I don't want to sort of paint it on so it looks really fake, and obviously you do want to do this to your shape of brow. This is just how I fill in my brows, so don't think you have to follow this step by step, but I'm just saying use your sort of natural brow bone your natural brow hairs, unless you want a completely different look, then by all means, but it is a lot of work, so it is much better to use the natural shape of your brow. So what they tend to say, I'm just fixing up that tail, so making it a little bit thicker, just making sure not too long. No, that's perfect. So basically the sort of proportions of your brow that they say best suits your face. So you take like a pencil or the end of a brush and you place it on the edge of your nostril. You're then going to place it sort of in that inner corner of your eye and then up to your brow. That is where your brow should start, and a lot of the time that is where your brow will naturally start. So that's what is best proportioned for your face. They then say that the arch is from the edge of the nostril. Again, everything is measured from the edge of the nostril. So you're going from the edge of the nostril through the pupil and up, and then that area there should be where your arch is, which again you can see that is where my arch is. And then, like I keep saying, from the edge, the nostril of your nose, so the edge of the nostril, edge of the eye and up, and that is where your tail should be, and that is where my tail ends, you see? So that is the proportion that they say best suits your face. So everyone is completely different. So don't feel like I'm saying like, oh, this is the step by step, but this is just how I fill in my brows, okay? So I'm just going to thicken up this top ever so slightly. So all I've done is just ever so small strokes. I've just worked to the front of my brow from where we had started doing that arch. And I'm just brushing through the hairs, sort of, I don't know what you'd call that, like having the brush up lengthways and just brushing through like so. It's just going to distribute some products ever so softly in the front of the brow. So I'm just going to brush everything to make sure everything is natural. No real like harsh lines, because you never really want any harsh lines. But everything just looks really natural and precise though, and in the shape that you want it. So that is, you can probably tell the difference of how my eyebrows look once I have them filled in and once I don't. So I'm now going to fill in this side, and if you like know what you're doing, then probably don't need to watch this video. But again, I've just brushed my brow hairs up. I'm just getting some product on that brush, and I'm just going to start off at the bottom of my brow I'm just doing ever so small motions. And I pretty much just do a nice line from the front backwards, if that makes sense, like itchy nose. And yeah, and I go all the way back until I create that tail. So I'm just making sure that that tail is in the right place, where, as you can probably see, that it is. So I'm now just going to brush that up so it sort of blends that line, so it's not really a harsh line. Just brushing the product through the hairs more than anything. But yeah, it's just blending out that line. So that is the line that we've created on that brow. So I don't know if you've ever really noticed with my brows, but this one is lower than this one, and it actually has just always been that way. This side just always seems to be like raised, whereas this one is always lower, like the hairs start a lot lower, they start down here, whereas these ones obviously are more higher. So sometimes I have always liked to like match them up, but just recently I've sort of been embracing the fact that they don't match, and a lot of the time brows shouldn't look so pristine, otherwise they're not going to look really natural if, you know, they're completely manicured and they look completely alike. So I just try and do them as best I can to look sort of symmetrical on my face. So again, I'm going to start about where my pupil and iris is. So you've got like about a centimetre probably in the front of the brow, which I haven't touched yet. Trying to make sure I'm in the shot. And I've just done, again, a curved arch. So I've just curved it like I did the other brow. I'm just going to just make sure everything's okay. Just thicken up that tail a bit more so everything is in proportion. Again, use that measuring trick that I showed you. And yeah, you can probably see that this brow is a lot darker than this one, and it's all because I just haven't brushed through it. Brushing through your brow with a spoolie brush just disperses the product a bit more. It not necessarily like moves the product around so you have like fuller brows or whatever, but it just makes the product look a lot more natural and it doesn't look so fake. But yes, I'm just brush through it. I'm just going to go over any areas that are a little bit too sparse, and then I'm just going to work in. And I like to sort of just create like a line. So it sort of squares off the brow. And then all I do is just blend it. Blendy, blendy, blendy. With the spoolie brush. And I quite like the hairs at the front of my brow to stick upwards. I just feel like it looks more natural. So that's why I always tend to do it. And I do trim the hairs on my brow. So basically I will brush them all upwards, then gently just trim the edge so that they are in that sort of line. Because if you've got really long eyebrows, then when you brush them up, they're just going to be really spiky and out of position. If that makes sense. So I do suggest trimming them, but don't go crazy, because you still want to leave a little bit of length, because obviously when you lay them back in position, they are going to look shorter. So don't like go over crazy with the scissors with trimming them. Okay, so I'm just going over and just brushing it, making sure there's no like real sparse areas. Just making sure like everything looks, you know, fairly even with each other. So that is how I fill them in with the DipBrow pomade. So all I'm going to show you now is what I sort of do after I fill them in. So this is going to be like my full routine of everything that I do, just because I want to be like really informative for you all and just let you know like what I have been doing differently with my brows. So I'm just cleaning off my brush. I have been liking doing also just recently is sort of sculpting them out a little bit on the underneath area. It just makes them look a lot neater, and yeah, it just makes them look a lot neater. Don't know where I was going with that, but I'm going to go in with this concealer F75 brush from Sigma, and I'm going to go in with a concealer. This is actually one of the highlight shades out of my Anastasia Beverly Hills Cream Contour Kit. It's the banana shade. But all I'm going to be doing, just let me get my mirror again, is just going to take that brush and go underneath that line that we drew. So underneath that bottom line of our brow where we're filled in. Just like so. And then on this one. So you might like go over some hairs, but that's okay because this is going to show us what hairs we need to pluck. Because we're drawing along where we've just applied that base line of brow product. So we're not drawing on top of it, but we're drawing along it. And when you haven't got anything really left on the brush, we can blend it downwards onto the eyelid. Now you can use concealer for this, you can use a highlighter for this, whatever works for you. I would definitely suggest sort of a creamy liquidy product to really get in there and clean up that area, because it is a lot more precise to use it. And I would suggest using it on a precise concealer brush. And if your brush can't get in to blend it out close enough that you want, or blend it out the correct amount, like you don't want it to look like there is necessarily concealer there, you just want to make it look like it's nice and clean. And you can just sort of go in with your finger and just blend, just to blend it out even more. So it kind of looks a little bit scary when there's nothing else on my face, well, apart from my base products. I do this when I know I'm going to be wearing like eyeshadow and stuff, like from day to day. I don't always tend to do this, but what I do say is that I never apply this concealer product above my brow. Some people do really like that clean look, but because I like my brows to look a lot more natural, that is why I just tidy up underneath, because it just gives like a nice crisp line underneath your brow. So like I said, you might go over some hairs, and all I say is I go in with my Tweezemen slanted tweezers, just like so. And now I can really see what hairs need removing from my brows. So I haven't plucked my brows in a little while, so there are only like a few, like there's not too many hairs. But I wanted to have some here so I can show you. And this is how I suggest plucking my eyebrows. I completely fill them in as sort of manicured as I want, and then I will like sculpt them and whatever and make them as sort of pristine as I possibly can, and then I will go in and pluck any of the stray hairs that I may have around. So any brow hair that lands in that concealer area, highlighted area, we're just plucking out. And also what I like is when we apply the sort of concealer product or the highlighting product, you can like go out straight after plucking your eyebrows, because the eye area doesn't look as red as what it normally would, because we've already sort of concealed that area. So I'm just going to do the exact same on the other eye. And I like doing it this way because you're not over plucking your brow. It can be really hard to pluck your eyebrows when you can't really see like which hairs are gonna be in the brow, if that makes sense. So that's why I much prefer plucking my eyebrows whenever I sort of fill them in. So I tend to do whenever I fill in my brows, I'll just go in and neaten them up, but I don't tend to show it in a video because I feel like it's sort of a step that you don't necessarily want to see. But yeah, I definitely recommend, if you're having troubles with plucking out your eyebrows, you're always plucking out too many, fill them in to the most desirable shape that you want to achieve, and then just pluck to that shape. That is what I have been doing for like the last year maybe, and I am slowly getting somewhere. Like, they feel like they're a lot more sort of tamed than what they used to be. They're in an actual shape where they never used to be, like in an actual shape. So that is how I tweeze my eyebrows as well. Crikes. Yeah, and like I said, because we've applied that sort of highlighting concealer product, it has just cleaned that area up, and it doesn't look really red and harsh after we've just done something. So I'm just going to highlight my brow bone. So I'm just going to go in with that sand shade from the contour kit, from the Anastasia Beverly Hills contour kit, and I'm just placing this underneath my brow. And I do really like this product as a highlight, just because it is really subtle and it just gives like a sort of glow to the skin. But I've just applied this all over the lid today just to set that concealer product. Normally obviously I'd have other eyeshadows and stuff on, and sometimes if I do my eyes first, I don't really go in and do all of these steps because obviously I can't bring the concealer all the way down over my eye if I've already done my eyeshadow. But today I'm just setting all of that eyeshadow, and then so if I was just like starting off with my base first, I would do this, and then, or with this sort of skin tone powder sometimes, but today I wanted to add just like a little bit of a glow to my eyelids. So that is how I fill them in, tweeze them, conceal them, highlight them. So now my last step is just to set them in position, and like I said, I use the Pro Longwear Waterproof Brow Set from M.A.C in Empathetically Blonde. I've sort of squeezed off as much product as I can from the brush, and I'm just going to, like I said, I like these hairs at the front to stand up. And I'm just taking it backwards. I don't really want this product to touch the skin, especially not in that highlighted area, just because it is tinted and it will leave a mark. And I've started wiping off the product because it does apply a lot of it. I'm hoping like it hasn't been blurry because of that mirror. It has been applying a lot of it, and sometimes it can look really cakey and wet looking. So again, I'm just applying it to the front of my hairs to make them stand up, and I'm not touching my skin, I'm just applying the product on the actual brow. Just turned the brush around just so I can add a little bit more product. But yeah, like I said, I'm not touching my skin because it will leave a colour pigmentation around. But yeah, so I believe that is everything that I do to my eyebrows. Like I said, I might go in sometimes with a powder, or I might go in with my Soap and Glory Archery pencil. It's just a sort of quicker technique, but this is the technique that I have really been enjoying just recently. I feel like my brows look really polished, and they're nice and bold, but not too bold and in your face, if that makes sense. But yeah, this is just how I have been really enjoying wearing my brows just recently. I also find like sometimes after I've completed them, I do find like certain things that I want to just change up. So like this eyebrow always seems to be a bit shorter like in the front, although like the hair doesn't grow as far in as the other side. So I'm just going to go back in with that brush. I'm just going to spoolie through my brow just to make sure that that brow product doesn't look too cakey in my brows. So that is how I have been doing my brows just recently. I really like how full they look and also still quite natural looking as well. Now that I've told you that this brow is higher, I feel like I'm just going to be constantly like looking at them. But brows make an incredible difference to your face. Like if you didn't have brows, you'd look like this. But with brows, it just frames your entire face. It just makes everything look a lot more polished and a lot better, if that makes sense. But yeah, this is how I have really been enjoying wearing my brows just recently. I know I keep saying like, if you want an updated brow routine, then please let me know in the comments below, but I just went and filmed it for you anyway. So this is how I have recently been doing my brows. I hope you enjoyed this video and I will talk to you all very soon.